Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, May 28th, last Wednesday in May 2014, show number 1010. I'm your host, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening or via the archive, if that's the way you so choose to enjoy the show. I appreciate you guys being here, regardless of how you tune into the show. On tonight's show, we're going to have our friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim is going to be on the show live from California. He's down there in California. I think he's down there with his lovely daughter, Nicole. And they're sort of having a father-daughter thing down there in California ahead of next week's WWDC. If you're going to WWDC, don't forget the Alt Beard Bash is happening. And crazily enough, Jim is opening up to everybody who wants to attend. So the lineup will be long. Make sure you get there early. You can go to the Loop, loopinsight.com to get more information about the Alt Beard Bash. Well, obviously, we're going to talk to Jim about WWDC and about the Beats announcement. Today, Apple announced officially that they had bought Beats Electronics, the headphone manufacturer, the streaming music service, along with the services of Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. That's much more important than those other two things. We'll talk about that a little bit later, too. And also, I got a huge announcement. Photography secrets revealed. Woohoo! Thanks to this past weekend, and I can't believe it was just a few days ago, this past weekend, I did the beginner tips and tricks class for my little sister, my baby sister. It's hard to believe my baby sister has a baby of her own, and the baby isn't even a baby; it's 9. Hi, Emily. So I did a class for them, and my sister is a scrapbooker, and I knew what scrapbooking means, and that kind of stuff. But I really didn't understand how big a community it was. I mean, these ladies do this stuff almost every weekend. They have these things called crops, and they go to someone's house, and they will sit around, wrong person, and they will do scrapbooking. And one of the things is, as I was talking to my sister, I realized that these guys are the perfect audience for photography classes because their scrapbooking stuff is focused on around pictures. So we did a class on Saturday morning. I had a blast. There was, I think, 5 ladies in my sister's house, and they were watching me via video. And so then I came up with the idea of I could go to them and do an all-day class with a bunch of these scrapbooking ladies. And so, surprisingly, to me anyway, I was able to pull this off in a relatively short period of time. So thanks very much to my little sister, Melanie, for helping out with this. And she just done a huge amount of work for this. I can officially announced the Photography Secrets Revealed class. Very excited to be able to offer these classes in person. The first is going to be in Halifax, Nova Scotia at the Museum of Natural History on June 28th, 2014. If you want to go to the website at startingpointphotography.com, one of the tabs there is classes. Scroll down and you find the class that says Photography Secrets Revealed. There's a PDF there. Thanks very much to our good friend Mosquito for creating that PDF for me. It was very funny. I've been going nuts trying to get a room, a meeting room. And I've been calling all over the city where there's a convention in town. And so it's tough to find someplace. So I want to do it near, if you've ever been to Halifax, there's a beautiful space called the Public Gardens. And the Public Gardens in Halifax has often been described as one of the most beautiful public gardens in all of North America. It's one of those sculptured garden kind of places. Really, I remember, I haven't been home to Halifax in 25 years, but I remember going there and just absolutely loving the space, thinking that it was a really cool place to be. So we wanted a meeting room that was in that general area. So that was, because we were being more specific, it was even harder. So I've been calling around and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. And so finally I got a hold of someone and tentatively booked a room for $700. And immediately after I hang up, the email comes in and my sister says, I found your room for $200. Like, whoa, what? You just saved me $500. What's this? Thank you very much. So what we're doing is the class is going to be $150. If you're in the area, if you're a Your Mac Life listener and you hear this, let me know. I've got a code that'll get you $50 off for the class. But the goal is going to be to do these on a regular basis, not just in Halifax, but across the country. I can do them in Vancouver. I can do them all over the place. Mo says very happy to hear Shawn will be teaching in front of a physical group again. So am I, Mo. I mean, those folks who know me, you know I love speaking in front of groups. I love teaching photography. So this is going to be both. I get to teach these folks an all-day class, and we're going to talk about photography secrets revealed. We're going to talk about the iPhone, how to take better pictures with your iPhone, take better pictures with your point and shoot, with your SLR, mirrorless, whatever it might be. But there's also going to be a photo safari. There's going to be prizes. There'll be a photo shoot afterwards in the public gardens. We're doing it at the Museum of Natural History. There's only room for 65, 70 people in that room. So hopefully my sister and her scrapbooking friends can pull together that number of people to fill that room up so we can do the class. It's definitely happening. Even if only me and my sister show up, it's definitely happening. And the reason why it's definitely happening is thanks very much to a wonderful financial backer who wants to be a silent backer. So I'm not going to say their name, but they're the reason why I was able to do it. Because part of the problem is, oh, hang on, the sun just came out. The sun hasn't been out all day long, and all of a sudden now it comes out just as the show starts. I got to close the blinds. Hang on. Stupid sunshine. The problem was we couldn't wait. One of the issues is that back home in Nova Scotia, the summers are relatively short, so people make plans for their weekends well in advance. So we needed to do this very, very quickly, but we couldn't sort of sit around and wait until we found 30 people who might want to do this with us. So we had to. My concern was that if we waited too long, we wouldn't be able to get the number of people. So I was talking to a financial backer about this, and they said, I'll foot the bill for the room and the airfare and basically the expenses, and you pay me back that amount of money plus X number of dollars. So the financial backer makes money off of this. But they're also taking the risk that they lose money, and that's what I'm concerned about. Hopefully we can make sure that this is not going to happen. But the idea would be to do these on a regular basis, once a month, once every couple of weeks, any number of places across Canada. And not just for scrapbookers. Right now it's scrapbookers because they're the people that I've got a foot in the door with my sister and her friends to the scrapbooking community. But ideally, we'd like to open this up wide to sponsors and all kinds of other companies and people who want to be able to do this. So I'm really excited about this. So thanks very much to my sister Melanie, her scrapbooking friends, and also to the financial backer. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I get to go back home. I literally haven't been, I say this to people all the time, that someone asked me where I'm from, and I still, 25 years later, want to say Halifax. Halifax has always been and always will be my hometown, even though I've lived in Vancouver. I actually I've lived in Vancouver for 12, now 13 years. But I still think of Halifax as being my hometown. So I'm really going there. I'll be there on a Friday morning, all day Friday, and then all day Saturday for the class, and then Sunday and Monday going down to visit family in Bridgewater, Nova Scotia. So I'm really looking forward to that Friday where I get to just wander around my so-called old haunts of Halifax to see what places are still there, what places aren't, and that kind of stuff, and taking pictures and all the fun things that we've got planned for there. So if you're at all interested in, or if you know someone who's interested in it, in the class in Halifax, let me know. But also if you're interested if you're in Canada, because it's just too bloody expensive to do it down in the States. If you're interested in this kind of class anywhere else in Canada, let me know. Maybe you can help me out in getting the people, because that's the thing. It's getting the 30 to 50 people to come to the classes that is the big deal. 30 is about the minimum you can do it with and still make money at it. Obviously, I don't want to lose money, so it's something that we're going to be working towards. Let's talk before. Like I said, we're going to have Jim Dalrymple on the show, but just before we get to Jim, remember when this Beats rumor first happened? What was it, 2 weeks ago? The Financial Times had the rumor. This is a little insider baseball for you folks out there. You don't know about this. It was a Monday. Apple started calling around to, oh, by the way, if you're on Facebook and you see the story about the Photography Secrets Revealed thing, if you could share it among your friends, that'd be great too, if you want to tweet it and all that kind of stuff, just to help me get the word out. Apple started to call around to the usual suspects, analysts and journalists and things like that, asking them their opinion about the deal. They wouldn't confirm or deny the deal was happening or not happening. They wouldn't comment on the deal itself. but they were asking analysts and journalists what they thought of the deal. That's when I knew the deal was happening. That's when I knew the deal was definitely going to happen, because Apple's not going to ask analysts' opinions about rumors. You're not going to call up journalists and say, hey, what do you think about this rumor? Apple doesn't do that. This was a directive from on high, Tim Cook at the highest, possibly Schiller or Eddie Q. Someone told the PR folks at Apple to start calling journalists and ask their opinion about this kind of thing. So when someone late last week said, oh, the deal's off, no, the deal was never off. The deal has always been ongoing. The deal has been about, it's taken so long to announce this because they wanted to, wait. The deal's been signed, sealed, and delivered for a while now. It just didn't get signed, sealed, and delivered today. It was announced today because Eddie Q is going to Walt Mossberg's Recode conference this evening to talk about it. And they knew that Walt Mossberg and Kara Swisher would ask Eddie Q about this deal. So that's why they announced it this afternoon, I guess late this morning, early this afternoon. So Eddie could go on and answer questions from Mossberg and Q about this. So that's the reason why that happened. Interestingly enough, they didn't swap out Eddie Q for Tim Cook because Tim Cook doesn't play second fiddle. They had the CEO of Microsoft opening the Code conference yesterday, and in past years, the CEO of Apple has opened the Code conference. So there's a little one-upmanship there from Apple on Apple's point of view, that they wouldn't let Tim Cook follow CEO of Microsoft. So there's something, a little tidbit for you guys. The deal's been done for at least a week, and Apple was asking about it for 2 or 3 weeks ago. His shadow says, yeah, it's amazing how many people think these kinds of acquisitions occur over the course of a weekend news cycle. Exactly. Absolutely. The reason why the rumor first came out was because somebody at Beats leaked it to Financial Times 2 weeks ago. And the deal was mostly done then. It was undoubtedly signed maybe a week, 10 days ago. And they've just been sitting on it now to let it percolate and let it become known throughout the company. The Dr. Dre video, nothing to do with it. You know, some people say the reason why it's been knocked down $200 million from the 3.2 rumored billion is it was punishing Dr. Dre. No, you don't punish Dr. Dre. You don't punish Jimmy Iovine. You punish those guys if you wanted to by not having them involved in the company. That was nothing. It was just absolutely. Dre didn't say Apple's buying Beats or anything else. All he said was he'll be the first hip hop billionaire. Yeah, that's nothing. It was just braggadocio from Dre, which, when you're going to have the guy like that on your company, you're going to expect that kind of thing to happen. Now, interestingly enough, look at, I think it's the New York Times story, or any of these stories, and note, and I'll talk to Jim Dalrymple about this in a few minutes, note where the different divisions of Beats are going. The headphone division is now going to be under the control of the Vice President of Marketing, Phil Schiller, while the Beats streaming music will be under the control, and Iovine and Dre will nominally be working for Eddie Q, the VP of Internet Services. That makes a difference. There's a story in there too, and I haven't seen anyone, the usual suspects, talking about that particular story just yet. So we'll talk to Jim Dalrymple about that in a few minutes. Don't forget, as always, send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Want to hear what you guys think about this acquisition. Definitely want to hear what you guys think is going to happen at WWDC. There will be new hardware announced at WWDC. I said this 2 weeks ago on Twitter. I said it on the show. There's going to be new hardware. It's not just going to be updated stuff. It's going to be new hardware. What do you think it's going to be? I know for a fact it's going to happen. What do you guys think it's going to be? Email onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Also, as always, if you guys are interested in the video of the show, of the Google Hangout video is available. Please join us there. You guys can chat in the Google Hangout. If you want to chat in IRC, you can go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there below the video is the IRC channel. All you do is drop your name and your password in there, and it puts you into our IRC channel along with Sly and the rest of the gang there. If you're a traditional IRCer and want to use direct IRC software, our IRC server is irc.channel chat-solutions.org, and this information is up on the Pound Your Mac Life channel of the website. And we are in the YourMacLifeShow.com website, and we're in the Pound Your Mac Life channel. After this brief break, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. Just give me a second here while I get the phones hooked up for Mr. Dalrymple. Jim Dalrymple, publisher of The Loop, is on our phone. Jim, how you doing? Jim, you there?
Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am good. You and the whole family are going to be in California this week, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's great to hear. Good for you guys. I think is this the first time you and the whole family have traveled to California?
Yeah. It's Michael's first time out here.
Oh, good. So you guys are planning a whole bunch of stuff? Are you going to do the usual tourist type stuff with them?
A couple of things. We're going to go to Alcatraz and, stuff like that throughout the week. So
all the usual things. Let's talk about, obviously the big news today is it's official. Apple has acquired Beats Electronics. Not a whole lot new in the story. Do you read between the tea leaves anything along the lines from the interviews that Cook has been doing today or from the press releases or things like that? Is there anything in there, any tidbits that you see?
Well, anybody that wasn't an idiot when the rumor came out and actually thought about, what this could mean for Apple and, the different aspects of Beats that would, I think, be appealing to Apple. There really isn't a whole lot of surprise in there. But, this isn't something that, is just going to all of a sudden switch over either.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. This is definitely going to take some time. This is not going to be. Yeah. I mean, Apple isn't going to be announcing a new streaming service at WWDC next Monday. That's for sure.
Well, and Beats headphones aren't going to have an Apple logo on them tomorrow morning.
Exactly.
Now, this has to go through regulatory approval and all kinds of things.
Now, having said that, I read into the fact that Tim Cook has structured this deal so that Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre are going to be working under Eddie Q, VP of Internet Services. And the Beats headphones are going to be working under Phil Schiller, VP of Marketing. What do you read into that?
Well, Phil's marketing.
Yeah.
He's the man. So, these products have to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And Phil's the man that's going to look after them.
See, I think for me, what it means, big picture, what it means for Apple is that Beats headphones are not going to change from an audio quality point of view. Because if they were going to change in design or audio quality, then it would be under maybe Johnny Ive. But because they're going to be under Phil Schiller and marketing, it means that Apple's going to let Beats keep being Beats from a headphone point of view. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think I may be putting it a little simply because, Phil looks after Mac OS X and all that stuff too. Because he's marketing, but Johnny designs the stuff.
Yeah.
So having Phil do that certainly makes sense. And basically, I think your point is taken. The headphones are part of the deal, and they're going to market them and they'll be underfilled. But I don't necessarily think that doesn't mean that they won't work on quality and they won't work on design, and Apple designers won't be a part of that whole thing.
Well, see, for me, the reason why I say that is because Apple already makes their own earbuds, and they're crappy. Apple's shown no interest in making their own iPhone earbuds, and they've always been crappy. They've shown no interest in making high-quality earbuds, so I don't see why they'd show any interest in making higher-quality Beats headphones either.
I kind of like the Apple one.
Really? See, I hate them. They fall out of my ears, and I just don't find them comfortable at all.
That's because you have a big head.
Yeah, it's possible. It's certainly possible. I don't have a beard to keep mine in.
That's right.
The idea that I think one of the best quotes of this whole story from Tim Cook is that this isn't about Apple today. This isn't about Beats today. It's about, as he said, looking around the corner. Would you agree with me when I say that this acquisition isn't about what we see at Apple, at Beats now, but it's about what's going to happen in, let's say, 6 months, 18 months, 3 years down the road?
But see, that's the thing that we keep trying to tell people.
Yeah.
Nothing is about what Apple is doing today.
Yeah.
It's all about what Apple is doing, in 3 years, in a year, in 2 years. That's what it's all about. That's what everything is all about. But, analysts keep trying to focus on what Apple is doing today, tomorrow. Well, today and tomorrow, Apple is going to continue selling iPhones and continue selling their other products. And, in a year when they come out with new products, then that'll be another day.
I got a big kick and not in a good way, seeing all the tweets from people going, oh, and Apple now has an Android app. No, they don't have a freaking Android app. Beats Music just happens to run on Android.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with Apple. It's just the way it is. Apple may pull that thing tomorrow. They've done it in the past. They bought companies that had Windows software and killed the Windows version. Apple may do the exact same thing in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, or they might keep it going because the Android version, you got to assume, makes money. So yeah, I wouldn't don't be reading too much into the fact that Apple now has a quote unquote Android app. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
The thing that
you can't stop the stupidity.
That's right. The stupidity is ongoing. This was possibly the most interesting tweet I saw with regards to this thing all day long. It's from a guy, I have no idea who it is, Vala Afshar. He says, Apple has $156 billion in cash. It could buy Beats, Netflix, Tesla, Twitter, Dropbox, Pandora, Uber, Pinterest, Spotify, Airbnb, and still have $31 billion left over.
I mean, really, Apple could buy the world.
Exactly. In case you're wondering, folks, Apple has just an insanely huge amount of money. And Tim Cook is now, with this buy, shown he's willing to spend a fairly decent-sized chunk of it on things that he believes will move his company forward.
Well, and I think that you have to respect the fact that Tim, really has some restraint, because there are some companies out there that I really won't name, Google, that just buys everything.
Yeah.
There's actually, I don't mind that Google buys everything. I really don't. Google and Facebook, man, they buy everything.
Mm-hmm.
But, if they can use that stuff and make their products better, then good for them. But I think it's interesting that Tim seems to be very picky and very strategic over what he buys.
Yeah.
And, I'm still not convinced that this whole deal, he didn't buy Jimmy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That was my next statement was that, you bought Jimmy and all this baggage came along, whether it be the streaming service or whether it be Dre, because there is no doubt that at some point, because now Dr. Dre is an employee of Apple. That's what Tim Cook said. And as such, he will be given an employee handbook. And in that handbook, it basically says, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't talk to people. There's no way. Yeah, I don't know Dr. Dre. I don't know a thing about him. All I know is what I perceive of him from interviews and his music and things like that. At some point in the next year, Dr. Dre is going to get in trouble with the law. There's just no way around it. He's going to get into a fight in a club in Vegas, or he's going to be picked up and going to have some weed in his Ferrari. Something's going to happen. I wonder how Apple's going to deal with that. I mean, they can't fire Dre.
Well, each one of these acquisitions, and I know this from experience, has a time that you're guaranteed a position.
Yeah.
And after that, you're out.
Yeah. So Apple's just basically going to hope that Dre doesn't do anything stupid until they can fire him.
Right. Then it's just gonna be, yo, PhD Dre, man, you're out of here.
You're gone. You're done. Take your cash and get out. The other thing I think
we no longer need your services.
The other thing I think is going to be very interesting is the fact that, and Apple makes this very clear, again, that these two guys are going to be employees working for Eddie Q, not working for Tim Cook. Now, I don't believe for a second that Jimmy Iovine doesn't have Tim Cook's private cell phone number, and he will call up Tim Cook whenever he wants. I think it's just an organizational thing. I don't think they're actually going to be, quote unquote, reporting to Eddie Q.
Well, no, I don't necessarily believe that. I think you have to remember the business that we're talking about here. We're talking about the entertainment industry. Eddie Q is the one that's in charge of all of that stuff.
Yep.
Negotiating everything. Music companies, video companies. Eddie Q's the guy that sits down at the table and, smacks and sits down at the table.
Yep.
So ultimately it's him, So if Jimmy and Dre are going to help open up some doors, then they would need to report directly to Eddie, because Eddie is the one that's responsible for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Eddie will say, hey, Jimmy, we need to talk to somebody at Time Warner or, whatever. And Jimmy will, make some calls and say, okay, this is all set up. Come on down, I'll make an introduction.
Yep.
And then Jimmy leaves and Eddie stays.
Yeah, I can definitely see. Sorry, go ahead.
So it's not necessarily just about organization. I think that Jimmy reporting to Eddie is the right thing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that, especially with that, because I can't see either Dre or Iovine wanting to be constrained by a corporate culture that is Apple, but certainly as guys who go out there and find the deals that Eddie Q and Tim Cook want them to, and like you said, make those introductions and make those preliminary discussions, and then bring them back to Eddie and Tim, and then, like you said, they all fly down to Hollywood, and Jimmy Iovine says, hey, Mr. Time Warner, Mr. Tim Cook, blah, 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 kind of stuff. I think that's definitely the way that we'll see Iovine doing I don't think we'll see him up at WWDC doing presentations about how beat streaming works,
Right. You're right. And, having Dre, maybe at one of these events and bringing some of his friends, maybe that would be a thing to do.
Well, you know what?
Because obviously Dre has some contacts. Maybe him and Snoop Dogg are going to do a little puff before they come up or something. Who knows?
Now, folks, next week is WWDC, and one of the big deals of WWDC is the party, the beer bash that Apple has on, I think, Thursday evenings. What are the odds that Dre is playing at that beer bash?
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh, really? You don't think so? He's got to at least show up.
No. Well, I don't think he'll play. I mean, if you gave me $3.2 billion, that'd be great. No way. I'm not playing anything.
I'm not your monkey.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. Jim, you will be at WWDC. Will you be doing a live blog of the telecast?
No.
Good. Thank you.
No.
No
What's the sense of doing a live blog? They're going to live stream the thing.
How many years have I been telling you that? Just sit back and enjoy it and enjoy the show. The Beard Bash is, what night's the alt Beard Bash?
Tuesday
night, folks. It's open to everyone. So if you're if you're at WWDC, get there early because it's going to be the biggest party, except for Apple. The Alt Beard Bash is going to be the biggest party. Go to the Loop at loopinsight.com. Do a search for Alt Beard Bashing if you get more details there. Jim, I know you got dinner, so I'm going to let you go early. Thanks very much for taking the time out to do this, and you and your family have a great time in California all next week.
Thanks a lot, John. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. See ya.
See ya.
It's good that Jim's bringing his lovely daughter Nicole and his son. I think his son's name is Michael, to California, so that he and Monique and everyone else in the family. I'm going to have to turn the volume down here a second, folks, because you're going to get blasted otherwise. Hang on. I hope that was just in my headphones. I had to plug in the other audio input. What do you guys think? One of the... Let me see if I can find these stories. One of the things that email on air at yourmaclifeshow.com. Tim Cook to employees on the Beats headphone buy. He says, I hope you're as excited as I am about this new chapter in our history. This is, interestingly enough, that one of the things you have to look at whenever you read these kinds of things from CEOs, this kind of stuff is vetted by marketing people. And so what it always makes you think is how much of this is marketing fluff and how much of this is actually what the company and or the CEO believes. Apple has always, and Cook has said this, Jobs said it all the time, and people accuse them of it being just marketing fluff. Apple has always been, to a certain degree, a music company, or they wanted to be a company involved in music. Not a music company as in a record label, but certainly a company that wanted to be involved in music. Right from the beginning, they've always wanted that aspect. As Tim Cook said, it's in their DNA. And I think this just goes to show that that's not just a line. The company really does love music. The grown-ups at Apple really do love music. It's obvious that Steve Jobs loved the music that he grew up on. So it is something that Apple is doing because of that DNA structure of the company, that they do, in fact, love music. It's obviously also something because they think they can make money at it. Now, the question is, how will they make money at this going forward? And that's what the most interesting part of this whole story is, for me anyway. It's the point of, as Tim Cook said in interviews today, it's not about what Apple is doing now. It's not about where Apple is now or where Beats is now, what kind of headphones they have, what kind of streaming. It's not about any of that stuff. That stuff will continue. Apple will continue to sell Beats headphones. At some point in time, maybe they'll call it Apple iBeats. I don't know. But Beats headphone company will continue as an entity. And maybe the headphones will get better. Maybe they won't. I honestly don't think Apple cares. I don't think Apple cares whether the actual, audio geeks are all up in arms about the fact that Beats headphones don't sound good. I've heard them. I've heard better. At the same price point, I've heard better at lower price points. Maybe I'm not the target market for Beats headphones. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I think that's the third rung of the ladder. It's tertiary to the whole deal. Whatever money Apple makes off Beats from this moment going forward is just gravy. Is just extra cash for them. Secondly, it's the streaming aspect of this. I think this is secondary. It's the secondary reason why Apple made this buy. Apple, as Tim Cook said, they could have created their own music service, streaming music service, if they'd wanted to. As I said, showed that tweet earlier, they could have bought Spotify. Supposedly, Beats has less than 200,000 subscribers. Spotify has 12 million. So if it was just about streaming, Apple could have A, built their own, or B, bought Spotify, assuming Spotify wanted to be sold. So Apple will continue with Beats, and that will get better. You've already seen today they've lowered the price to a certain degree, and they've promised new and better services from Spotify. So we're going to see that kind of stuff happen too. And that's the kind of thing that's going to happen regardless of what Apple has planned for the future. And again, Beat streaming may turn into iBeat streaming, and it will be bundled with every iPhone. It'll be free. I don't know. I have no clue. The most important aspect of this deal is Jimmy Iovine and to a certain degree Dr. Dre. They give Apple feet indoors that they don't have now, into Hollywood in general, into the music industry, less so, because Apple's got pretty good connections there. But Iovine and Dre are the key to this. And what Apple's going to do with those two guys, we don't know. It's one of the things I think is so interesting about, I was talking to Brian Monroe about this before the show went live. One of the things I find interesting about Apple is that they make these buys, and we know they're doing it for a reason. Apple doesn't just buy everything and hope something sticks. They don't throw everything up against the wall and see what sticks, unlike other companies that we could assume are doing this. Apple's doing this for a very specific reason. And even better, we have no idea what that reason is. Maybe you do. I'm personally not smart enough to know what the reason is. I'll be the first one to admit that. Apple knows what they're doing. And what they're doing isn't what we are thinking they're doing, which I think is fascinating. I think that's very, very cool that Apple is doing this and doing something for the future. 6 months, 18 months, 3 years. That kind of future. What they're doing will not be announced at WWDC next Monday. By the way, there is a live broadcast of WWDC, which means all these stupid live blogs, don't go to any of them. Now, I know some folks are at work and can't watch video at work, and so they read the live blog. But for the most part, the whole live blog thing is so done, so over, so tired. So the question is, what can you expect at WWDC June 2nd, next Monday? Certainly, we're going to see updates, more information about the next version of iOS and the next version of OS X. We're going to see probably a developer preview of both of those, of iOS 8 and iOS 10.10, which is going to be very awkward to talk about. The things that we know, I am 75 to 95% sure Apple is going to announce new hardware at WWDC next week. And not just revisions to a Mac Mini or an updated Apple TV or a speed-bumped MacBook of some kind. My little birdies tell me that Apple is going to be announcing, Apple's going to be announcing a new hardware project. A new hardware product. Not the iWatch. Arkson and I were talking about this again earlier during the pre-show. I don't think, personally, Apple's going to actually come out with a physical watch that does whatever. If it does fitness, does heartbeat, does email, does whatever. I don't think Apple's going to do that. What I do think Apple's going to announce at some point, possibly WWDC, that they have developed a software layer, maybe even a hardware layer, where other manufacturers can build on top of Apple's foundation to create these devices. Because what that allows Apple to do is to have 100 different kinds of iWatches. Apple's not going to make 100 different kinds of iWatches. But by building a foundation that other companies can build on top of, then Timex could build their own fitness watch or their own wearable watch or those kinds of things. Nike could get back into the business and create their own fitness watch that feeds into that software foundation so that it hooks into your iPhone, into your iPad, into websites, into your Macintosh, to do any number of things, whether that control your home. That's certainly the rumor we've heard in the past week that Apple's going to be doing a smart home type thing, and that's part of this whole software layer, this whole foundation, that Apple will be able to offer this product to other companies and say, here's the standard, the Internet of Things standard. It's not what it's going to be, but here's the standard, and all you have to do is take our foundation and build your stuff on top. Because right now, if you've got smart products, they don't talk to each other. If I've got a smart watch, I can't use it to turn on my lights because they don't talk to each other. They're incompatible. But what if that smartwatch was sitting on a software layer that also your lights could talk to the software layer, and your watch and your lights could then communicate. So, for example, you would set this up so that you have your smartwatch on your phone. As you walk towards your house, your lights would come on in the wintertime. They would know that it's dark in the house, so your living room lights would come on, and the sky's the limit from there. Because what can happen is, if you set it up correctly, if you use the software hooks, as you walk towards the house, your door unlocks. I saw this at CES 10 years ago. A company had a key fob, just like the regular key fob you have in your car, that when you walk towards the front door of your house, the door would literally open up for you. So if you were carrying a bunch of groceries, or you had your hands full with the kid, or that kind of stuff, the door would open automatically. That's been around for a long time. So imagine that would happen. And then your favorite TV station would come on. You're coming home at 5 or 6 o'clock. You want to watch the news. So you walk in the house, the TV comes on, changes to the news station. Or you're having a tough day at work, and you set it up on a website so that when you walk into the house, your bathtub starts running at the perfect temperature. And then in 15, 20 minutes, you can go in and have a hot bath. All these things are kind of possible right now. This is not new technology. This technology has been around for a while. The problem is having it connected to all of these different things. So I think that's what Apple's going to be announcing at some point in the future. Again, I don't know if it's WWDC. It's the idea of other companies developing the wearables where Apple will have the software layer for them to hook into. And then Apple takes a licensing cut from every device. Rather than having 2 iWatches, like they have 2 iPhones, there'd be 100 different devices. Apple would take $1 from each sale. And then Apple, once they get that ecosystem up and running, it's very much like iTunes. You're almost locked into it. Once you buy 5 of these products in your house, the next product you want, you're going to want to talk to the same software layer, so you're going to buy an Apple-compatible version of it. And that helps everybody. That helps the manufacturers. It hurts the people who are on the other side of it, but it certainly helps everybody in the ecosystem. I think that's the kind of stuff that we're going to see talked about to a certain degree at WWDC next week. So sure bets are OS 10 and OS 10.10 and iOS 8. Now, CNET has got some possibilities. One about mobile payments. That is an aspect that is possible. I'm not sure. Home automation software, that's what I'm talking about here. Long shots, new Macs. I don't think there's going to be new Macintoshes and new iMacs or things like that. Beats, I think we're obviously going to hear a lot about Beats at WWDC. No iWatch, no Apple TV. If there's any Apple TV announcements next week, it's going to be the bare minimum of, here's an updated Apple TV. It's got a better processor and nothing spectacular. We're not going to hear about new iPhones and new iPads at the WWDC. And there's going to be at least one surprise. And it's going to be interesting. It's not going to be that one more thing surprise, but we're going to see at least one surprise at WWDC next week. Mosquito says in the IRC chat room, Bill Reynolds must be busting a gasket waiting for next week. To a certain degree, yeah. Bill, because Bill, remember folks, Bill is an audio-video guy. I've forgotten what Bill's company name is. Is it AV Awareness down there in Portland? AV Awakenings. AVAwakenings.com in Portland, Oregon. Thanks, Mo. One of the things that you see from Bill, the frustration he has is trying to make all these different control systems talk to each other. And he just pulls his hair out on a regular basis. If you see his tweets or I get his iChats, his iMessages, just cursing and swearing because Control 4 won't talk to this and that won't talk to this. And it's half the battle that he has is trying to get these things to talk to each other. So yeah, he would love this kind of idea. ArcSign says, ugh, Shawn King, that sounds very Google-ish. Software platform for $1 to any, or for $1 to any ratty manufacturer. That's the key, though, Arc. It won't be just to any ratty manufacturer. Just like Apple has the made-for-iPhone designation or the made-for-iPad designation or made-for-iOS device, every device is going to have to go through Apple's quality control. It's not going to be just everybody willy-nilly and you'll see all these Chinese knockoffs showing up at your home hardware store. That's not what's going to happen. Just like now when it comes to anything that wants that made for iOS designation, that little badge you see on it, it's got to go through Apple first. And all these devices will go through Apple first. So it'll be less of that kind of idea. It'll just be these cheap devices that'll fall apart in your hands. What it does mean, though, is next year at CES, it's going to be really interesting. For the first time in a long time, I think CES is going to be fascinating because of this, because of what might happen with this. As always, emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I love getting emails from you guys, either during the week or during the show. If you have any questions or comments about anything along these lines, please send them off to us. Just checking to see if there's any emails right now we can talk about. I got a... oh, by the way, I want to say, again, for those folks who may have missed it off the beginning of the show, on January 28th, 2014, so the end of January, I'm going to be doing the very first Photography Secrets Revealed all-day seminar in my hometown of Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. It's going to be $150 for 9 to 5 all day long. It's going to be Photography Secrets Revealed. It's going to be tips and tricks on better photos with no matter what camera you have. There'll be a specific segment because the ladies who make up the vast majority of the audience want to learn more about the iPhone. So there'll be stuff about the iPhone. There'll be stuff about a little bit about editing software, a little bit about backup software. We're also going to have prizes to give away. We're going to have a photo safari at lunchtime. We're going to have a photo shoot at the beautiful Halifax Public Gardens. The seminar will be at the Museum of Natural History in Halifax, Nova Scotia. If you are in the area, or if you know of anybody in the area who might want to take an all-day class to learn how to take better pictures with the camera they already have, please let them know about this. You can like this and share it on our Facebook page. Go to Facebook and do a search for either Starting Point Photography or Photography Secrets Revealed, or go to the website at startingpointphotography.com and you can find the information there. Or send me an email, Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com, and I will send off more details. I got an email from Don Beck. Don says, question, what is the difference between automatic mode and program mode on a camera? I know that PE tries to find the best combination, in the camera's opinion, of aperture and speed. I would assume that is also what automatic does. Is there a difference? It's a good question, Don. Now, this is not for you folks who have an iPhone. The iPhones shoot on, for the most part, what is automatic mode automatically. It's going to be done for you on your behalf. So the question becomes, is there a difference between the automatic mode and the program mode on your camera? Well, what I tell folks is the automatic mode is exactly that. I also call it average mode. What automatic mode does is it doesn't allow you to change any aspect of your camera's control. In theory, if you've got a camera that can do these kinds of modes, there's some configurability to them, whether that be aperture and shutter or ISO or scene modes or those kinds of things. Again, the base iPhone can't do these kinds of things. So, Don, what happens when you do it in automatic mode? The camera says, all right, I'm turning this into an iPhone. I'm turning your camera into an iPhone, and I'm going to average everything. I'm going to average the light. I'm going to average the color. I'm going to average the exposure. Everything's going to be average. And sometimes average works. With good light conditions, average is perfectly good. For those folks who saw the photos, my friend Leslie, and by the way, I was corrected, it's not Leslie, it's Leslie. The photos that my friend Leslie took at the Bloedel Conservatory a few weekends ago, she was shooting on automatic mode. And a few of her pictures came out really, really nicely because they were the right exposure, the right lighting, the right shutter speed for that scene. Now, what program mode does, Don, is when you flip your camera to program mode, what you're telling the camera is, I want a little bit of configurability. Don't let me go crazy. I want a little bit. So, for example, you are pointing your camera at your kids are running around. And you know, because you've taken a class or you've read about it, you know you want to increase the shutter speed. The pictures you're taking on automatic or average mode aren't capturing the kids. They're blurry because little buggers are running around. So you know, oh yeah, Shawn mentioned something about shutter speed. So if I increase the shutter speed, I'll be able to capture the kids. So what you do is you put your camera on P mode, and then you'll have to read your manual to figure this out. You increase your shutter speed. Say it's 1/100th of a second, and the kids are blurry. You can increase it to say 1/1000th of a second, so 10 times faster, or 1/500th of a second, or whatever it might be to capture the kids in motion. And the camera will take care of everything else. The camera will change the aperture. It'll, if you let it, it'll change white balance. It'll change ISO. It'll change a whole bunch of other stuff because you're telling it, make this shot as good as it possibly can given this shutter speed. The reverse is true for aperture too. Say you've taken a class, or you remember Shawn saying, if you want a nice blurry background, if you're taking a picture of someone's face, you want a nice blurry background, you want to make the aperture number as small as possible. And on next week's show, I'll give more of a definition of aperture. So what you'll do is, again, check your manual to see how you do this. You'll change your aperture to a low number, say f2.8 or f4 or f whatever those low numbers are versus 11, 16, 22, 32. And you'll take the picture. So what you're telling the camera is, the most important thing for me right now is I want a narrow focus and a blurry background. So the camera might lower the shutter speed. It might lower the ISO. It might change some other parameters of the camera. Program mode is one step up from automatic mode. It gives you a little bit more control. Think of it as training wheels. Think of the automatic mode as crawling. You're nice and safe. You're low to the ground. You're on all fours. You're stable. And automatic or in program mode is a bicycle with training wheels. And that's how best to think about those two kinds of situations and modes on the camera. The best thing to do is, like I always say, is experiment. Turn the camera to program mode, and again, read your manual, turn your camera to program mode, and see what happens when you take a picture at a certain aperture. Notice how if your camera has, just check to make sure, if your camera has a screen that you can see, I know this Olympus M1 does. I'll turn this to aperture mode, and then I'll flip this here. The lens is locked. Okay, fine. There we go. Now, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but you'll see here in the bottom, it says f4, f4.1. Is that in focus? So you can see as I flip these dials to increase the aperture. See that flashing number there? That flashing number is the shutter speed, or how long the shutter will stay open. It says 30 seconds because I got the lens cap still on. Let me take the lens cap off. Come on, come back. Where'd my little screen go? I'm back, little screen. There we go. So there is those numbers, and you can see now it says a third of a second, a half of a second. Trying to get it so less glare. See, it says F8 now, and as I decrease or increase that shutter speed or that aperture, you'll see how those numbers will change. So that's what you want to do, is just play around. At F13, the shutter will be open for a full second. At what's the lowest aperture? F4.1, it'll be open for an eighth of a second, 10th of a second, 13th of a second. You can see it changing. So experiment with your camera. That's the way you learn how to be a better photographer. You take a class, you read a book, but practice, practice, practice. Experiment, experiment, experiment. It doesn't cost you anything to shoot pictures digitally. You've got a camera card. Unlike the old days of film, when every single shot cost you money, now doesn't cost you a dime to push that shutter button. So play around. Sit down somewhere on the couch or out in your backyard, pointing at flowers, and practice. Mosquito says, I dig the idea of Shawn teaching in person again. I wish I could book him locally here. Thanks very much. Programs, multiple, usually. You choose between a few program settings like snow, landscape, sports, inside. That's scene mode, ArcSign. We're talking about P mode or program mode. It's a little bit different, but you're on the right track. auto is a tricycle and program is a big boy bike with training wheels. That's another way of looking at it. Yeah. ArcSign, you think of automotive as a tricycle, a nice, solid, safe base. It's small. It's easy to use. You're not going to go very fast in auto mode, but you'll be safe in auto mode. What I tell folks is once they start taking photos and they just aren't capturing them the way they want to in auto mode, and they know why not. So say you shoot in auto mode and you know this picture is coming out really dark, and auto mode just can't fix it. And you know that darkness is caused by a lack of light, and you know how to increase the amount of light, either opening up your aperture or keeping your shutter open longer. Then you can move into program mode or into the scene modes. Like I said, you can take good pictures in auto mode. I'm not ever going to tell anybody you must shoot in manual. But once you outgrow auto mode, once you outgrow that tricycle, there are options for you for those folks who have the kind of cameras who can do it. Now, I said that the iPhone doesn't do it natively. There is software available that will mess around with your iPhone's settings digitally. I think Visco Cam will do it, and I'll find out what other ones will do it. So we can talk about that on a later show. Don Beck, thanks very much for the email. I appreciate that. It was a good question. It's one of those things that I love getting those questions from folks who are beginners who've heard about this kind of stuff but aren't quite sure what it means and how to do it. So thanks very much for the question, Don. I appreciate that, buddy. Again, go to the website, startingpointphotography.com. You can also go to our Facebook page at Starting Point Photography. Just do a search on Facebook for Starting Point Photography, or do a search on Facebook for Your Mac Life. And both those sites have pages that will pop up that you can read and participate in the show in that way. Jason Painter writes in from Sydney, Australia, talking about the Social Print Studio interview. He said, nice topic. Perhaps my aunt, who is not with it regarding online access to photos, could benefit from prints. That was the kind of person I was thinking about, Jason, when I arranged the interview with the folks at Social Print Studio. The kind of people who, A, don't have, don't need, don't want a inkjet printer. I don't have one. I haven't used an inkjet printer in more than 10 years. Any printing I ever do is always going to be of the laser printer variety. I don't even have a laser printer anymore. But there are photos that I do want to print out. There are photos that maybe you want to print out because you want to put them on a wall, or you want to give them to somebody, or hang them on your refrigerator or in your office cubicle. All kinds of photos like that. And the Social Print Studio guys allow you in a fairly inexpensive kind of way to not have to have your own inkjet printer, to not have to have your own color printer, to be able to use their services as a one-off kind of thing, to make gifts for friends and family, or that kind of stuff. I like the idea of physical photos. I was very pleased with the prints I got from the folks at Social Print Studio. I'm still waiting for the big poster I ordered too. It's going to take a few weeks. Those things aren't fast. So give socialprintstudio.com a chance if you are interested in that kind of stuff. My friend, our friend, the official Jew of Your Mac Life, Lauren Finkelstein asks, this summer I'll be traveling to Central Europe for 2 weeks. Prague, Vienna, Budapest, and Transylvania. I have an unlocked iPhone 4S from AT&T originally. I'm going to see if I can unlock my 5S, also AT&T. My aunt will have an unlocked Verizon iPhone 5S as well. Could you please ask the listenership for advice about my choices for cell carriers and data plans? I presume there will be a cell carrier store in the airport when I land. My family would like a clue in advance about what to expect. Will one carrier get me through all of those countries, or allow data sharing with my iPad, stuff like that? I have no clue, Lauren. It's a great question, and I know we've got a bunch of European listeners. So if any of our European listeners can offer up some advice to Lauren, send me an email and I'll pass it on to him, or write about it on our Facebook page, and Lauren will see it there, or send me links to things that you think he might be of interest to him. I know there are companies. I know when we were planning our trip to Italy last September, one of the things I was looking at was, where do you buy a SIM card locally, and what does that SIM card get you? Does it get you a local phone number? Does it get you local data access? What are the problem is, this is a giant hairball of conflicting information and conflicting companies and different pricing structures and fees. And oh my God, it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare trying to figure this stuff out. So if anyone's got some advice for Lauren, please pass it along. We would appreciate it. Bob Studer, we were talking a few weeks ago about pro photographers shooting on auto. He says, coming from a newspaper background, I can assure you that many news photographers shoot in auto for run-of-the-mill stuff. Being arty for a feature article is different, however. Bob Studer, thanks very much for that. Michael Curtis, with regards to giving photos as presents. Hey, Shawn, you're totally right. It seems giving photographs as presents is now lost. I know my mom still wants to print out photos she has taken. She thinks it's more personal to have prints than hand the iPad to a friend to look at them. Saying that, I've attached a copy of the Christmas present we have her this year. She still lives in the same house, so we took a photo of me that she had, but 40 years apart. Oh man, I hope that I can get this in for the audience. Let me folks, just bear with me here for a second while I see if I can't get this on the video feed, because it's so cute. Come on, why can't I drag and drop to the desktop from Mail? God, Apple. All right, let me just open this thing up, and I'll show it to you guys full screen on the... Yeah, I got to rotate it, of course. Rotate left. Make it bigger. And then I'll put it over here. Oh, come on. And make it bigger again. This is so cute. This is our listener Michael Curtis down there, over there in the UK. So it's a picture on the left-hand side of him at his mom's house, and on the right-hand side, same house, I gotta assume, same clothes hanger, and possibly the same shorts. Dude, what the hell? Michael Curtis in the UK, thanks very much for that. That's very cute. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, there are some folks, I'm not saying old people, but, you want photos in a frame. You want photos that you can give to people. And like he said, like he doesn't want his mom doesn't want to hand the iPhone off to people. There are people that you want to be able to physically give them a copy of a photo. I like it. Mosquito, our local Staples just closed, one of many branches undergoing that. Might have been my only walkable, color-proof printing source, apart from places like that print outfit Shawn interviewed last week. Yeah, as more and more of these, our local drugstore doesn't do prints anymore. Maybe your local big box store like a Walmart might do it, but fewer and fewer of the neighborhood type places are doing that because fewer people are printing photos. So maybe a Social Print Studio is a good option for you guys. Norm Harris asked an interesting question. Are any copies of what I print retained on my Mac? Reason for question: if I print a copy of a password to keep off site, could someone find this on my Mac? No. Any sort of print buffers, that kind of stuff, are plunged? No. What is the word I'm looking for? Exhumed? No. What the hell's the word? Purged. Brian Monroe. Purged. That's the word I'm looking for. They're purged as soon as you finish the print job. You'll for any document, what you do is you tell your printer, "Hey, printer, grab this document and print it out." And the printer grabs the document, puts it in memory, prints it out, and then purges that memory. So it's not gonna or expunge. Baron von Cruiser says. So don't worry about that. It's not a good idea to print your passwords, dude. It's just not a good idea. It's not something you should do at any any point in time, because it's just not a thing. This is an old email. I just popped up. I don't know where. Tom Reiser. We're talking about coffee a few weeks ago. I don't know why. I'm curious about how you guys make your coffee in the morning. Tom says, we have an old Cuisinart grind and brew we just love. Makes great coffee. It has whole and partial pot settings. The beans we use are Velasquez family coffee. It is grown, harvested, and hand-packed by the family in the national mountains of Comayagua in Honduras. And they donate part of the proceeds to a local Spanish immersion school that our niece Liliana attends. That's very nice. Before finding the Velasquez coffee, we had a regular order of Pete's delivered. I was sorry to see Pete's bought by a conglomerate. He says, and speaking of coffee, have you ever tried Black Blood of the Earth? I wouldn't, just because of the name. That would never come across. I would never consider that would be a good idea to buy coffee from a company called Black Bean of the Earth. That just sounds nasty. Fun Ranium Labs is the website. Black Blood of the Earth coffee. Wow, that just sounds nasty, man. How much does it cost? Sign Story Store. All right, let's see what much. Because generally I buy coffee $12.95 for a pound. These guys are charging. Oh, they sell Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee though. That's still supposed to be pretty good. Coffee. All right, just trying to find just in general. Oh, they don't deliver. It's all pickup stuff. All right, well, whatever. If you're interested, it's funraniumlabs.com. Thanks very much to Tom Reiser for the information about a different version of coffee you can buy. I buy local stuff, sort of roasted locally here in Vancouver. I stopped buying Starbucks years ago. I just didn't like the coffee the way it came out in the coffee machines I was using. I'm using either French press or a AeroPress. So I started buying local stuff. And right now I'm buying whatever's on sale, unfortunately, because I can't afford the expensive stuff. So whatever I think is good. I had a batch a couple of weeks ago that was awful. It was Nabob coffee. It wasn't Nabob, but it tasted like, and I hate Nabob coffee. I don't know what they do to their beans, but I think Nabob coffee is just vile, disgusting stuff. But so I was forced to drink really crappy coffee for a week until I sucked back all these beans. It was awful. And no, Brian, I'm not getting the Civet coffee. I think Civet coffee, for those who don't know, is the coffee that's been eaten by some jungle cat, pooped out, and then someone goes through the beans and no, that's stupid. It's utterly idiotic. I don't care if they think the coffee tastes better. I guarantee you it doesn't. It's just that you're such a complete and utter douchebag, you think the coffee tastes better. It, in fact, doesn't. Oh, don't even get me started on that stuff. It just makes me crazy. That stupid Civet coffee. Folks, if you have any emails to us, as always, send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Please check out the website at yourmaclifeshow.com. If you would like, you can always subscribe to Your Mac Life right there on the left-hand side of the page. You can see the subscription. You can subscribe for $2, $5, $10, $15, whatever it might be a month. And that comes out of your major credit card, goes into our bank account. As of next week, we're going to have more prizes to give away, too. We've got some folks who are going to be giving away prizes for the month of June. So you folks who are signed up for the subscription will be entered into the prize draws, along with the other folks who go to the website and do the Friends of Your Mac Life entry form. So what happens when you subscribe, you get extra entry forms. It's free to enter the contest, but you'll get extra entry forms if you subscribe to Your Mac Life. And we also encourage you guys to go to the Amazon link on our page, because if you're going shopping on Amazon and you click on our link first, whatever you buy at Amazon, you don't even have to buy the thing that you click on, whether it be a book or whatever I might have chosen. If anything you buy in that session at Amazon.com, a book or a pot or whatever it might be, we get a bit of a kickback from. So we'd appreciate it if you guys could do that in your shopping travels. Again, if you're interested, please join us June 28th in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada for Photography Secrets Unveiled, or Revealed, one of the two. We've got a bunch of prizes to give away. We've got a photo safari to do at lunchtime. We've got a photo shoot to do at after the show at the Public Gardens in Halifax. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. Got some surprises for you guys, too. So if you are in the Halifax area, please come on down. Go to the website, startingpointphotography.com, and click on the link that is there. You'll see classes at the top, and then scroll down to Photography Secrets Revealed. If you know anybody who's going to be in the area, pass it on to them. Pass it on to them via Facebook, or like us on Facebook, or share, or whatever the hell you have to do on Facebook. And if you're not going to be in the area and don't know anybody, but still would like to take one of these classes, let me know, because it's, that if we get 15 people in Toronto who suddenly say, yeah, we want to do it in Toronto, that will give us the impetus to pick Toronto for our next location. So definitely just send us an email saying, yeah, please think about doing it here, think about doing it there. This is the kind of thing that can be done anywhere. So we want to know where the next location wants to be. I want to do this once every month at the very least, hopefully once every 2 weeks. throughout the summer, fall, and even into the winter. So send me an email to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. I want to say thanks very much to Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us on the show tonight. We are going to be, seems like there's going to be a lot of folks watching the WWDC live telecast on Monday. So we'll all set up right here in our IRC chat room, and I'll put this on the site. You can join us in the IRC chat room during the live telecast of Tim Cook's WWDC keynote address on Monday. I think it starts at 10 a.m., so we'll open up the IRC at 9 a.m. So if you guys want to join us in the IRC chat room, you'll be able to do that, and we'll just chat back and forth. You don't got to watch a live blog. You can talk amongst other Your Mac lifers. 10 a.m. Pacific time on Monday afternoon. We'll talk about whatever Apple announces during WWDC. That's it, folks. Until next week, as always, I want to say thanks very much for you guys for joining us. Appreciate it. If you're listening to the show live or tuned into the archive, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!